Hey guys, welcome to my movie review of Ex Machina. This is a film by screenwriter Alex Garland, and Alex Garland has screenwrote a lot of stuff over the years. He's most well known to many for screenwriting the film Dread. He also screenwrote a film called Sunshine, which actually a lot of trailers in today's movies seem to use, borrow the music from in today's trailers. But back to the review. So this review is for Ex Machina, and this basically is the directorial debut of Alex Garland. After him being a screenwriter for all these years, this was his attempt at directing, and I thought he did a very good job at it. So Ex Machina is a film where a coder of a big company, it's one of the biggest website search engines out on the web. This guy basically gets randomly selected to go to this island where his boss of the company that he works for invited him to go on. And when he's there, he finds out that his boss has been working on this AI robotics, where the robot basically looks, sounds, and almost is human. And he wanted to bring in a subject that worked for his company, somebody that what was within um, his own company really, and he didn't want any outsiders being a part of this experiment. So he gets this coder from his company to do it, and what he wants is he wants somebody who isn't himself to interact with this robot just to see what happens, just to see how both the subject and the robot just to see how things play out. He just wants to see what it looks like, what it feels like, if the chemistry between these two people or two things are good. So basically, he wants this coder to be the subject of this. He wants him to do this experiment for him, and he's just there to analyze and observe all of this recorded footage that happens between this guy and the robot. And so this, the story plays out and it gets to the point where this robot, and don't worry, this is a non-spoiler review. It gets to the point where the robot and this Oscar Isaac character, who's the CEO of this guy's company that he works for, there's trust issues. They're both telling him different sides of the story, and after a while, this coder just doesn't know whether to believe the robot or the guy who invited him to the island, because they both seem to have good points. They both seem to have, sorry about the clock back there. Um, so basically, he just doesn't know who to trust after a while. And so this film's all about him figuring out who to trust, why he's really there, what the robot really wants from him, and if the CEO of the company that he works for might have more to it than what he thought. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed Ex Machina. I think it's a very promising directorial debut from Alex Garland. Though I have seen better films in 2015, and even possibly better science fiction films in 2015 as well. Ex Machina definitely was a very good film that I think any fan of Alex Garland who liked his scripts in the past should like him here as a director as well. And he also got to write his own story for the movie. So, for my positives and negatives of Ex Machina, all the material that happens in the middle of the story I thought was very good. Um, Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson. Domhnall Gleeson plays the programmer, coder guy, and then Oscar Isaac is the CEO that invites him onto the island. I thought the two of them had great chemistry. It really worked well. Both of them had good back and forth. They both, seemed like good and bad guys at the same time. And I think that was kind of interesting about them. And I'm not too familiar with the actress who played this female robot in the movie, but she was very good too. Anytime that her and this Domhnall Gleeson coder were interacting and trying to figure each other out and learn how they view life and things and what they are both interested in, it was just all very well handled. So Alex Garland or whoever made all of this work did an excellent job here. Ex Machina is also a very well shot film. You can definitely tell Alex Garland and his crew for the movie really made sure that everything looked really good, really high tech, really well shot. This everything looks very impressive in the movie. This is also a smart AI film. I definitely felt like I was watching something that could really exist for artificial intelligence. It's not, this artificial intelligence that can take over the world like the Matrix has shown us, but it is the kind of artificial intelligence where if you go into a high-tech lab or a big well-known company like Microsoft or Sony, you could definitely see something like this existing. I could see a robot like what this actress play in the movie. I could see something like this existing somewhere. And I think that's what's kind of interesting about the movies. It feels like real robotics and real artificial intelligence if something like this existed. And I just mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. This is some great looking sets in the movie, both when they're outside of this home that this CEO lives in, and even when they're inside the home. There's locked doors, and there's you know, it feels like something out of a science fiction movie, but at the same time, it feels like something that somebody would actually go out and live in on a distant island somewhere. So they kept it realistic, but they also reminded us that this is a science fiction story, and I liked the hybrid of the two in a sense. There's also very interesting moments dealing with the robot in here. Like I was briefly mentioning earlier, there's just scenes where the robot and this programmer talk about how they view life, what interests them, what they would do if they could do anything that they wanted. Just really interesting moments that was had here between the robot and the coder played by Domhnall Gleeson. Oscar Isaac's character is very mysterious in the movie, and I think it works to the film's advantage. You definitely don't know if he's a good or a bad guy. There's definitely enough scenes that show both that side and the other of both him being good and bad. So I just like the mysteriousness behind his character. And then, like I mentioned before, the actress who played the robot here was very good. I think it's Alicia Vikander from when I looked up on IMDb. She's also in that Man from Uncle by Guy Ritchie that came out not too long ago. But very good performance from her. I hope to see her in more movies, actually, too. The film also has great thriller elements. You're constantly guessing throughout the movie, and I guess that's what really makes this film work. Is you're constantly guessing. It introduces new ideas, which makes you think about new directions that this movie might go in, and it's all very, very good. And then this kind of goes back to the great looking sets and the well shot part of the movie. I thought the film also had great cinematography. I could definitely tell Alex Garland and his cinematographer really discussed and planned things out as far as what should happen in every shot, what should exist in every shot, what should viewers see in every shot of the movie. They definitely planned that out very well, and once again, it worked to the film's advantage. Now for my negatives of Ex Machina. I thought the opening of this film felt very sloppy. What's kind of sad about the opening of the movie is you really don't know what's happening until about halfway into the movie where Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac are talking about how this guy got into the island. You really don't find that out until about roughly halfway into the movie. And so it's not a very good opening because for the first 10 minutes I had really no idea what was going on. And it's kind of sad when you have to wait all the way halfway into the movie just to figure out what that opening scene was all about, when in all honesty, it just could have been told better. I also thought the film was a little slow moving. It got to the point where I got where what the plot was going, where things were set up very well. I definitely understood where Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson and this robot stood in the story at this point. And by that time, I just wanted the story to pick up a little bit. I wanted something that felt a little bit more juicy and faster paced. And after a while, the slow pacedness, the slow burn effect just feels a little too much after a while. I also thought the ending was a little predictable and weak. It also kind of goes against some of the mysterious moments that happened earlier in the film that really could have made a better ending, in my opinion. I thought the film did such a great job giving us multiple different possibilities as to how the film could wrap up, that by the time it does wrap up, it's like, okay, well, I could have guessed that 45 minutes into the movie. I could have guessed that an hour into the movie. I could have guessed that an hour and 10 minutes into the movie. And so after a while, the more you think about the ending, the more you realize that it's really not that good. So kind of a weak and predictable ending here. The film also has an occasional inconsistent film tone. One scene I won't get into the spoilers on because it's pretty far into the movie, but one scene that really feels out of place as far as the film tone goes is Oscar Isaac and this other person, I guess we could say, Um, Basically treating the scene like they're in Saturday Night Fever, and it really doesn't work in this movie. It really feels out of place in comparison. Really, no idea why Alex Garland threw that in the movie. It really doesn't serve as a joke. It doesn't serve as something that provides anything to the plot. Really didn't understand why it was there, and it kind of like I said, it made the film feel a little inconsistent, and as a result. So overall, I'm going to give Ex Machina an 8.5 out of 10. It really it really makes the thriller elements work. It really keeps you guessing, but by the time you figure out, what's behind the curtain in the magic show, you're just kind of like, that's it. That I could have guessed that a long time ago. And unfortunately, the film thinks it's bigger than it really is. But like I said, this is a well shot movie. Everything in the middle is great. Great cinematography, great thriller elements until we unfortunately find out what it's all about. But like I said, a lot of really good things here that are on display, but it's kind of a flawed product as a result. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Very good movie. If you haven't seen Ex Machina, if you like what Alex Garland has done as a screenwriter, you might really like what he done. If I can talk, you might really like what he's done here as a director. Like I said, I hope he does make more films as a director. I think it'd be kind of interesting to see what he does next. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really good movie. I personally like a little bit. I need to go to bed. I liked Dread better as far as what Alex Garland has worked on as a screenwriter. Um, but I really like what he did here. And for those who like Alex Garland, it's worth checking out. But I don't think like you'll walk away from it, saying it's as his best thing he's ever done. I think he's personally done better as a screenwriter here. So I think I like him better as a screenwriter too, more so than a director. But like I said, I can't wait to see what he does next. 8.5 out of 10 for me. Very good movie, but don't expect it to be Alex Garland's best work to date.